Is a multiverse the next thing that really needs to happen for the Star Wars universe? I'm not too sure of it, but we're going to talk about that right now. Hello everybody and welcome back to Joker's Movie Network. I'm your host Joker, and today we're talking about something a little different than usual, but it does pertain to the future of the Star Wars movie franchise, and it's a weird one. Potentially a multiverse for Star Wars. Now before we go any farther into this is a rumor idea that is apparently... Some people say the idea is true, but the execution is not going to happen. Take it with a grain of salt. Like I always say, this is just a rumor that I thought would be interesting to talk about because of the events that happen in the movie and how it's going to change future movies potentially. Let me get into it and you'll understand. So this whole thing comes from a YouTuber named Doomcock. Now apparently this guy puts out a lot of interesting rumor videos and all that, but none of them have been steered false yet. Everything he puts out comes from apparently his personal reliable sources, which all come out to be true. Many of the rumor videos that he puts out with all of the inside leaks that he gets turn out to be true in the end, so he has some credibility to him. But as far as this goes, I really don't know what to think about this. Now, one of the YouTubers that I personally go to for all my Star Wars information is Star Wars Theory, and he looked into this, and he also has some inside people that give him leaks from time to time that's apparently said that the idea is true, but they don't think this is ever going to happen. So take it as you will, yes or no. I don't know if this is going to be a true thing or not, but let's take it as a rumor and just see what we're dealing with. But apparently, Disney is detailing ways on how they're going to erase the sequel trilogy from existence and make it not canon anymore, and then reset their timeline, so to speak. So this whole thing comes from a giant article from cosmicbook.news. I'm not familiar with this site. I don't know any credibilities, but the article is listed in the description down below if you'd like to check this out. It's a pretty lengthy one, and there's some interesting parts you should read about this, but there's some stuff that's left out of it that I think helps bring this article to life. So the main concept comes from the fact that there is one way that they can go back and retcon episodes 7, 8, and 9 while keeping the continuity of Star Wars intact. How, you might ask? Well, let's go back to Star Wars Rebels, a canon TV series, and go to Season 4, Episode 13, where we got the episode A World Between Worlds. In this episode, we were introduced to the Veil of the Force, which was this parallel dimension that existed in a world between worlds, where all space and time is just like some mystical conglomerate of an idea. And in this area, you can like distort time and bend it to your will in some fashions. We saw this when Ezra was walking around, and through one of the mirror portals, he saw Ahsoka fighting Darth Vader that we saw earlier in the series of Star Wars Rebels. Upon seeing this, he pulled her out, and then they realized they had kind of altered time a little bit, so they had to put her back to finish her fight with Darth Vader. And in doing so, the theory that is coming from this is that you can potentially do this and reset 7, 8, and 9 as if they never happened. So this all stems from Episode 9, with the Room of Mirrors that Palpatine had on the Death Star 2. Now there is one large chunk of the article that I'm going to read to you guys just to give you an idea of what that is if you're not familiar with it. And basically it says that Emperor Palpatine had a room on the second Death Star called the Room of Mirrors. The mirrors were created by the Emperor prior to the Death Star through Darkseid using ancient Sith rituals. These mirrors, linked to the Veil of the Force, served many purposes. Using them, Palpatine could manipulate the Force in many ways to further his aims. For example, the use of the mirrors allowed Palpatine to cloud the Jedi Council to conceal himself and his dark apprentices from the Jedi and from Force sensitives that followed their fall. Now, I don't necessarily agree with that one particular part, because we all know that the Jedi Temple was built atop an old Sith temple, both in Legends and in canon, so that still stays there. But the second half says, using the mirrors allowed Palpatine to access the awesome powers of the Veil of the Force. They were indispensable tools that allowed him to rise to the pinnacle of ultimate power. It is this concept that explains how Palpatine survived Darth Vader throwing him down the shaft in the throne room of the Death Star. In desperation, as he fell, Palpatine opened a portal to the Veil of the Force and entered it. This explains why Palpatine is in such a damaged state in The Rise of Skywalker, as transporting himself into the Veil without the aid of the mirrors drained him and damaged him severely. Again, I see a little bit of issues with that one as well. Now, I will say this, the essence transfer part is true, but the reason he looks the way he does is not because he did not use the Veil of the Force or whatever this is claiming. We all know from the Rise of Skywalker novelization, what actually happened is that when he transferred his essence to another clone of himself, the clone was not finished and it was distorted, and it was a very poorly built clone. But that's the whole purpose. He had the Room of Mirrors in the Death Star so he could connect to the Veil of the Force, which we did see again in that same episode of Rebels when Ezra was walking around, and he did see Palpatine standing there in front of a bunch of blue flames. It was a cool moment in the show, but that's all we've really seen of that. So the way this resets the timeline as far as 7, 8, and 9 is concerned is about what happens once he goes over the shaft in the Death Star. Again, from the same article, it says that Doomcock, the guy from the YouTube channel, says that he goes on to explain that the Emperor created a second set of mirrors on Exegol that allowed him to escape where he plotted the rise of the Empire. So between Exegol and the Death Star, he had 2 rooms of mirrors, which he used to travel between the Veil of the Force. It's explained that all one has to do is go into the Veil of Mirrors and wait for Palpatine to enter, as the Veil is a mystical dimension wherein all times collide, which will cause the Disney Star Wars trilogy to consign to its own alternate timeline forever as Palpatine enters the Veil and never gets back to Exegol. So basically, someone would have to be in the Room of Mirrors at the same time Palpatine goes over the shaft, and through seeing visions, and pull him out of literally time and space into the Veil of the Force, to which he would never get to Exegol and never create the second Room of Mirrors, and he would never have the clones that come out to become the new clone emperor that we see in Episode 9. The failed clone would not go on to become Rey's father. It's a whole weird, twisted thing, and it says that in doing so, it creates an Elseworlds effect, creating multiple timelines for Star Wars after Episode 6. I don't know if it would necessarily list 7, 8, and 9 as legends, as well as the original what happened after Return of the Jedi as also as legends, and then they create a brand new canon path out of that. I don't know. It's weird. But I wanted to bring this up and talk about this because why would you want to do this? In doing so and then resetting the timeline to make another 7, 8, and 9, it's kind of a slap in the face that everyone that's been coming together to make 7, 8, and 9. For one thing, you don't have Carrie Fisher anymore. There's no way we can get her back. I don't think you're going to be getting Harrison Ford and Mark Hamill back to redo these movies, especially one without Carrie, and the fact that it's just, how would you do it? What about the story would be so necessarily different, or are you just trying to get the original ideas we had from Legends back on screen? I think in doing this would be an absolutely terrible idea, not because I think we should defend 7, 8, and 9. Like, I like 7, 8, and 9. They definitely have their issues, but I don't think, like, they shouldn't have existed to begin with. It's looking at it like we spent all this time creating 7, 8, and 9 in this entire new Star Wars canon. And now you're going to disregard these 3 movies, which in turn is going to cause more problems down the line and disregard a majority of the new canon stuff that has come out since the Disney buyout. So I'm not exactly sure what the entire plan for this would be, but it just sounds like an absolute catastrophe and that it just would not work. But what do you guys think? Do you have anything to say about this? Some people are saying that the rumors of the talks are true, that this is a discussion that people have had at Disney and Lucasfilm, but as far as the execution goes, they think it's never going to happen. What do you guys think? Do you think this is something they should do? Should they create a multiverse for Star Wars and create some alternate timelines like they have in DC and Marvel Comics? Do you want them to get rid of 7, 8, and 9 and redo them? Do you like 7, 8, and 9? You think they should just keep going with what they have? What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. I really want to talk about this because this is definitely a weird one, especially with the whole concept of the future of Star Wars movies being held in the balance right now between the constant backlash going between Kathleen Kennedy and Jon Favreau, and whether or not who is doing a better job and who has to ultimate control. Ultimately, do you think this is a smart move to make, or do you think this is an absolutely idiotic thing that they're just probably using to make more money? It's a potential idea, but I don't know. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. But until I know anything else, and I guarantee there probably will be more rumors surrounding this, or there may not be. But if I find out anything, I guarantee I'll tell you about it right here. So until I find anything else about this insane rumor, that is going to be it for this video, guys. Remember, if you like what you saw, be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know in the comments down below if you want to see more movie news videos, or if you'd like to see anything else. But until then, and as always, I will see you guys next time.